I'm liking the way you co-worked with other people. And I wanted to say also co-worked with God. So you have a problem, a challenge, then you go to Mrs. Fix It. You still have pockets of emotions, but you're like, we need to fix this thing fast.
We need to fix it.
So what you're doing, you are defending, you're going ahead of, for Amari, you're sort of postponing your needs, your feelings, and focusing on Amari, using all the channels available, digital, platforms, what have you, your community. And then I'm liking that even as you're fundraising from individuals in Kenya, you're also looking out from at the global opportunities, and you're sending in applications. Like, you are really busy.
I was really
You are busy, you're focused.
I was.
And I just want to say, I know it's a difficult journey, but the reality is when a parent is committed, and we're not saying they don't have dull days or the days are linking, what am I even doing? We're just saying, like you said, you're working on it, then you get this challenge, you moan a bit or whatever it is, you go through the emotions, then you go back, you're like, I need to finish this. Yeah, so I really want to commend you, for...
Thank you.
Yeah, like, I mean, you said, me, I'm done with this. Or, and then you receive a diagnosis, and then you put up a fundraiser, you're working hard, you're working both ways, locally and globally. I also, usually, I see God always honors consistency and diligence. Because now you thought you were fundraising for the cochlear surgery, implant surgery, then you were actually fundraising for your stay. So, and I believe also maybe one of the reasons the foundation gave you is because they knew you're already doing this, you presented something to them. So really also asking parents, please play your part.
Do your part.
Walk with others. Walk within our community.
Don't do it alone.
Because if the lady hadn't sent you the links, you wouldn't have known. So don't do it alone. Walk with other people. When you have energy, go out there. On your low days, cry alone and cry with people. I think
crying in public. So we'll tell you the story.
You cried in public.
I'll tell you.
Oh, okay.
We're getting there.
I just wanted to say that because I think also from my experience, I've seen parents who are doing their best, like in whichever way possible. If doing your best today is 10%, tomorrow is 110. Today is 50.
Sometimes it's 20.
And sometimes just being fully present. Like, I'm angry, I'm tired, but I'm present for this meeting just because I had to come. I've seen that those are the parents, the outcomes of their child are higher than a parent who is probably nonchalant or taking a very long time. So in as much as opportunities and spaces are provided for, a parent has to bring in whatever it is they have to bring to be part of the community.
I also like to play, to defend them and say it's difficult, and I'm sorry that it's really difficult. I wish it was easier, but it's just the way it is, that you really have to be Mrs. Present. I wish you could be laid back and the system works for you, but it's not structured in that way. So you really have to be Mrs. Present in that, in your journey.
Okay, let's go back to the good news. Hey! Going now to Dallas, United States of America.
I know, we are going to the US.
But they didn't see that coming. You were going to India.
I was going to India.
You have something far much better.
Then it's a different experience. But it wasn't without it's... Because remember, we fundraised, and then I remember my mom was telling me, she told me, because now you have some money, but it's not enough. She told me by January we will have enough money. So remember, I did the fundraiser in October. November comes and goes, we don't have enough money, like my mother told me. Because when your mother tells you something, she said by January we'll have money. I think December comes and goes. We don't have enough money. I'm like, this woman is a prayerful woman, but I think she lied to me. Because she told me God will provide, and I was like, see now, these things, she just says things. And then I remember, I think the email came in January 12th or something. That's when email came and they told me they've given me the money, and I could not believe it. Yeah, so it was really...
So mom's prayers were right.
It's the timing,
It's the timing.
Yeah, it was me who was getting impatient because me was on a human clock. Ni November 30th, ulisema, so December inakuja. So I was in that way, I think, sure, and that's the point I'm trying to say. You can support somebody in so many ways, like just...
Even prayer
and encouragement. Like she didn't even know I had written the email to think that it will come through. So it was just in her own way of, understanding and encouraging. So it came through. Yeah, and so we started getting ready now. So now going back to what a cochlear implant is and candidacy. Not every child is a candidate for a cochlear implant because it has to do with the anatomy of the inner ear. By anatomy, I mean the physical appearance, say, of the inner ear. So some children and some can qualify for the cochlear implant because it's an internal device. I said because his degree of hearing loss was so severe, he needed now this internal device. A hearing aid is external. You take it off, it's off. This one there's a surgery to it where there's an internal part and an external part. The reason being that his ear is the nerves required to transmit sound to the brain are, I think, dead. That's what the MRI said, or non-existent. So there's not, once nerves die, they die. Don't quote me again, I'm not a medical doctor. So this is layman explanation of my understanding. So those nerves don't work, they'll never work today, tomorrow, until forever. So that's why he needs then the internal device that bypasses the nerve. It works like the cochlea, that's why it's called a cochlear implant. So you are replacing the cochlea.
The cochlea. So we have cochlears.
They are working. And if actually you go read about how it works, you'll be amazed by the work of God because it's very intricate, very fragile and delicate. It's about microscopic hairs. That's how the sound gets to the brain because we hear in our brains. We'll get to why I'm saying that. So then the sound, they bypass the cochlea, his physical cochlea, and they put on now the device, the internal one, and then you have the external part that captures the sound. So it's like replacing the ear, like bypassing the ear because your ear is not functioning as it should. But nothing goes in the brain. That's just to bust that myth. Nothing goes into the brain. It's simply under the skin, behind the ear, it's threaded into the ear. I know when I say thread, it sounds a bit graphic, but it's I don't have another word for it. Then it goes into the cochlea and it works the way a cochlea should. Okay. So that's what that means, and he's able now to hear the full spectrum of sound. So a cochlea is sort of like a software that we have naturally. So for Amari, the cochlea doesn't work. No. So then you put an artificial one, which is an electronic gadget. Yes. Then he's able to access the sound. Yes. Okay. So that's... So, but now to determine if or how the nerves will work, or if he's a candidate, you have to do a CT scan and an MRI scan. So that's where I was crying in the bus.
Because it's a whole process altogether. It's a whole process,
and because he's a child. Remember, he's under 2 with no language. So he cannot go into the MRI machine just like that, because a little wiggle and the image will be blurred. So he had to be put under anesthesia. So now where I was coming to the emotional breakdown pockets is that I remember he's not supposed, remember, all this time, he's 3 now. We have no language of communication. We communicate through random gestures and tantrums and pointing and it's really hard for us. Our relationship was not great, I would say. I know to think for a mother to say that is a bit odd. but it wasn't great because it was our communication was so limited. He'd cry a lot. He was angry, which is a bias people have about deaf children. But it's because he's not heard. Like even you, if I was ignoring you, or if you thought I was ignoring you, you'll be angry.
So it's because he doesn't have language. That's why he has the tantrums.
Yes.
And then even for you as a mom, you want your child to call you mommy, say sorry. Mommy, you look nice. Mommy, I want this. So you didn't have that with Amari because Amari didn't have language.
He didn't have any language. He didn't even have mama or baba or ma. He just had one continuous that's the way he would communicate. He would point. So it was really hard. So on that day, we were meant to go do the MRI. And then he used to self-soothe with a bottle. Remember, these are 3-year-old. People are already judging me for a 3-year-old walking around with a bottle.
We will definitely judge you.
I was being judged.
And they don't understand.
They don't understand.
Just like the way you judged me because of my hair.
Judging me because of your hair. People are judging me like, why is your child 3 still carrying around a bottle? But that's how he used to self-soothe. And I chose not to fight that battle, so I'll let him self-soothe the bottle with milk. So remember, he has no language. We cannot communicate. And for the MRI, he needed to go under anesthesia because he cannot have any movement. For you to have anesthesia done, you can't have eaten anything. So I had to take away the bottle.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, it caused chaos in that room. Somewhere, I can't remember the name of the place, but it caused chaos. So I gave up. And then the anesthesiologist was late. He was supposed to be there by, we were told to be there by 8 or 7, I don't remember. He came at 9. So I had carried the bottle.
Quite a wait.
Yes. I'd carried the bottle. He's seeing it, but I can't give it to him. So at one point I gave up and he took a sip. And then the anesthesiologist walked in. The nurse asked me, huyo ni mtoto nimeona akikunywa maziwa. Madam haezi fanyiwa MRI leo. And
you guys had already waited for 2 hours, so it's the guy who was late.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was the straw that broke the camel's back. So we had to go back home, obviously, because it's a risk for him to get the medicine taken to take the medicine for anesthesia when he's drunk something. And it was just a sip. But I understand, of course, the safety of the child comes first. Yeah, so we went back home. On our way home, nikaingia City Hopper and I just cried.
And Amari was there?
And it's there. I was walking out of it was somewhere near Nairobi Hospital. We were walking out. I was just crying I was just walking around with tears rolling down my face comfortably. People look at me. I'm holding my child's hand. So now I give him the bottle. Just take the bottle. I got into a bus. The conductor is trying to ask me, Madam, shida ni nini? Where is the problem? I can't even speak because of the way I'm crying. He didn't even charge me. God bless you wherever you are. He was like, this one's her problems must be many. So like I said, I used to have pockets of breakdown, and then I get back up again.
So this is the disadvantages of being Mrs. Fix-It.
Yes.
Pushing the emotions aside. Then not one little trigger. There's just the day a trigger comes.
Inconvenience.
And then now everything. I think it's okay to cry. I mean, So Amari must have been shocked seeing you cry.
I don't know. I don't remember that time. I just wanted, my concern was just he doesn't stray or walk away, just to keep him close. And I cried all the way home. I cried the whole day, I think.
The whole day?
The whole day.
Like 8 to 5?
Around 8 to 5, but I think up to around 2. Remember, it was morning, up to around 2, but the day was gone. The day was ruined. I remember it was a Saturday. We had planned. We go for the MRI, then go out. The day just went down.
So it's what you had bottled up. And I'm liking nowadays, there's a lot of information around allowing our emotions to be seen. Like when it's a hard, it's just a hard. It's what it is. Just go through the hard day. Just cry. Rather than, just allow it. And then when it's done. Then you move on. So would you...
Of course, on Monday, I called and made another appointment for...
after the tears were gone, you're like, let's go back. Let's go back.
Give me another appointment.
Yeah. No, I'm really liking that. So, so Amari is your child. You love Amari. You're doing the best, but you don't have language.
We don't have language.
Yeah, so you're connecting, but you're not connecting.
We are not connecting. We were not connecting.
You were not connecting. But at least he knew if you pointed water, you'd give him water or food or...
Yeah, but
I think
what
that's
about
connection?
That's not enough. That's basic. That's you can do that with everyone. It's not enough.
It's not enough. Yeah.
What if it's not water he needed? What if he needed warm water and not cold water?
Yeah.
What if he wanted to let me know something away from needs?
Maybe so something funny. He wants you to laugh, or he wants to tell you, "Mommy, I've colored this. It's amazing, right?"
Yeah. So we were not connecting.
Yeah.
I can say that for sure. We were not connecting.
So, so there could be a parent who's probably on their way to Dallas or going for surgery in India, and they're experiencing the same thing. They know the solution is coming, but there's today. Today I'm not connecting and all that. Yeah. So, what would you tell them? Or I've heard you say this in other conversations where you said you grieved the child you didn't have. So these are the losses of, I didn't expect a deaf child. I thought by now my child would be telling me, nilifanya, I don't know what. Yeah. So speak about what you thought would be. I didn't expect this deaf child. The deaf child is here. No connection. And then there's a future that I see in terms of, I know once I get the cochlea, there's going to be language and probably connection. Yeah. So speak about grieving. Yeah. The Amari you thought would be versus who Amari is now. Yeah.
So what happened is, I think you, going back to something I said, what did I say earlier? And I told you. Anyway, I forget that. Yeah, but that's a really layered question. Because, you remember I told you it took, I think, 3 years or 4 years to say my child is deaf?
Yes.
That's part of the grief, because you don't want to accept that this thing is, let me call it thing, before as I unpack, that this thing is now a part of your life. So that's why it took me so long to have the courage to, and I'm saying, I'm not even saying it to others.
To yourself.
To myself in the mirror. It took me 3 years or 4, I don't remember, And the reason it was so difficult is because I had expectations of who my child would be. And now here I am presented with all this information and what his life is likely to be, and it's quite different. So you're grieving that you thought my child would by now be speaking, calling me mom. I used to hear at work, people with whom we went to maternity leave together. Oh, my child akinisikia mlango tu at this hour, anakimbia ama analia. So me, I didn't have that. So those are some of the things that used to trigger me. The other thing that used to trigger me was seeing children who are now my son's age in the supermarket, specifically in the supermarket, pointing at this, nipe hii. That was so triggering to me. Yeah, and it's because I had all these can I call them misconceptions? Thoughts of what he would be, and now he's not. Yeah. So I felt like the need to grieve that. But now in hindsight, I also know it's a bias in a sense. When you have a child who has a disability or any condition, typically what you do is that when they're going somewhere where it's new, you have to go and explain yourself, or at least explain them, so that, because accommodation does not just come automatically. You really, sometimes you have to fight, sometimes you have to ask for it. So there's a lot of that going on. And so I had gone to find out what was his experience. Were the other children okay with him? Was there any bullying? Yeah, so unfortunately you go to worst case scenario. So you're going to find out, did anything go wrong? So that's the point where she told me there's a teacher of the deaf, and I was just very relieved. I couldn't believe it. I was sure she doesn't know what she's talking about. Because in a Sunday school,
because everywhere you go, you have to go with your starter pack.
Yes, I used to have to go with a starter pack to just explain what is this, what does it mean. Yeah, so I used to have to do that.
So before we go into that, so would you say for a newly diagnosed, a parent who has a newly diagnosed child, that's a reality they may have to face, that they will always have to dish out this is who they are, this is how to probably speak to them, this is how to, if they have maybe an emotional outburst, what have you. Yeah.
Most probably you'll have to, if the ideal would be that you find a space that already knows how to deal with children, but that does not always happen.
Yeah.
So I remember, and of course we'll get to the part for school. I remember when he was joining school after he got the cochlear implant, I had to give like a starter pack, just a few guidelines on how to handle him and all that. The school was kind enough to put it on the notice board for every teacher to read. Of course, in hindsight, I realized maybe they didn't need it. They were they were okay with how to handle him, but I didn't know that. That's something you only see in hindsight. So to be prepared, you most likely will have to see the teacher, talk to the teacher, or talk to the person in charge. Yeah.
Okay. I suppose those are the realities of having a child who is different or with special needs or with a disability. That you have to be at the forefront, creating a space, advocating for them.
Yeah.
So that's sort of an additional layer to already the journey of parenting for most parents. And then it's good you said that space kind of new, which is mostly that's not the norm. Is that the norm?
No,
that's not the norm.
The norm is you have to go and explain your child. You have to sort of walk the person, let's call them the teacher, maybe or the attendant. You have to walk them from the state of not knowing to knowing, and so you'll sort of be walking the journey together. Hopefully it's the same person constantly. Otherwise, if they are being rotated, again, it's continuous reteaching here.
And I think that's where the burden of the journey is, that the burden of explaining, creating a path, going ahead of the child lies with the parent.
It is, because sometimes once you meet that person, so this teacher of the deaf, they have to be willing, because if they're not willing to learn or to adapt or to make that accommodation for you, then you're stranded. You may have to find somewhere else, or you'll not be feeling very comfortable to leave your child in that space. So it's quite a relief when you find a space that is already inclusive, and additionally you find somebody who is willing. Ideally you should find somebody who is aware, because if you're dealing with children, shouldn't all children at least have a clue? But that's not always the case. So ideally that's what you should find. Most of the times you will not find, but you will find again. There are people out there who are quite flexible and they're willing to learn and adjust for your child. Yeah, that's interesting. I think what I hear you say is access. Then now within that access, what's the quality of accommodation? That's true.
Because you can have an inclusive class, maybe an interpreter. And then, but then the quality of interpretation or the quality of tools teaching would be different. So it's a whole spectrum. It's a whole spectrum.
I call it the culture of disability. They have a disability culture where I like, for me, when I go to a space that is inclusive, I see other disabled people first. That means my child will not be, what is this, something like, to a show is not something to be an exhibition, like everybody is
come and see
this
is so different. We haven't seen this before.
So I like when I either find maybe a blind person, especially sensory disabilities, because physical disabilities, and not to minimize them, because they are a bit different from my perspective. I feel they are a bit different. If you communicate in common with the masses, I feel that's different from when you communicate a bit differently. So physical differences or limb differences, like when you have maybe an amputee or a limb difference, I feel like that's the accommodation you need versus somebody who communicates either with braille or sign language is a bit different. So I like to go to a space where I find a person who is either deaf or blind, who has a sensory different and communicates differently, because I feel these people are already used to accommodating. That's what I call a culture of disability. So I like when I go to spaces that have a culture of disability.
Nice.
Yeah.
Let's go back to church, meeting a teacher of the deaf, excited to come back to church. Then you come back. I think that's where we were.
Yeah.
And then, so let's go back to that. Yeah.
Okay.
That's how we met.
That's how we met. Yeah. So when I first saw you, I did have my own biases, my own... just by judging, looking at your looks.
I hadn't done anything. You judged me.
I had judged you.
And those are the biases we come with even in the space of disability.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So how can you judge?
Like now this slave queen is one, I believe, this delicate child of mine with I was when I went back, I was telling his dad, are you sure this one will be making it for Sunday school? It will be sherehe Saturday night. Sunday school they have slept, so they are not there. Then my child is left stranded. But then it was quite interesting. I think later after church, I came back once. He was brought, and then I came back later now, of course, to get the brief how the day was, and I think we started talking from there. Of course, that allayed all my fears. I was like, okay, this one is different. She's not what I thought. So now I've started, my bias has started being challenged. In terms of what I thought you are, and then you're telling me all this stuff about inclusion, and it's also what I was looking for, because I was looking for a space to now learn sign language, because we had the cochlear implant. I wanted to learn sign language.
Interesting. And I think for me, at that time, we were at Strathmore. It was a program called the Women in Tech program. They were incubating ideas. So our initial idea then was to provide language for deaf children. And we thought, again, based on my experience, worldview, rather than what is in the ground, we thought an animation would be the best thing, because we thought, all hearing children, when they're at home, auntie's washing clothes, I don't know, mommy's at work, daddy's at work, they just switch on the TV, then they watch cartoon, Cocomelon, I don't know, what have you, and then they pick accents. Like, we were like really desktop researchers. And based on our lived experience, based on what we thought would be for a hearing child. We hadn't fully interacted with deaf children. And so that's when we had already created the animation. And then when I met you, I introduced you to the animation. And I think we exchanged numbers, and we had a very long conversation. I remember on, almost 2-3 hours.
I remember I burnt my eggs. I was boiling eggs and they burnt. I forgot about them,
I remember as well. I think I was folding clothes or something. Then you called, then we chatted, and it just flowed. And I thank God for such connections. So I'm glad. Are you still judging me?
No. I stopped judging you. I think way back.
I think it's so important also for people who don't have disabilities, when they see a child with disability, or even a parent who has a child with disability, then they judge. Those biases, I'm like, they don't do enough. What's wrong with them? Or maybe they need money, or give them money, So I really like that we through a conversation, then you were able to debunk your biases as well, and then now we were aligned, and I think that's why we're having these conversations.
It is. Like it's been how many years now? 6? We met.
It was in 2018.
It was in 2018.
18, 19, 20, 21, 2023. Going 7.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. Going 7. That's why it's important to have these conversations, because, like I said in the beginning, there's so many narratives around parents with deaf children or children with disabilities. In fact, data or evidence, when you read research papers, they say parents hide their children, they lock them in the house, they're not interested, what have you, which we later will continue to unpack is all the parents I've met have done so many things.
So I was saying about grief and how you feel the need to grieve your child. It's a valid emotion, but as you go on your journey, you need to realize it's a type of bias, because not when you are a deaf mother, if you are a deaf mother and you get a deaf child, then you don't consider it grief because you are not lost anything. But because for us we are hearing and we are the majority, we do look at deafness as a loss. But in the deaf community, they do not look at it in that way. So I think you go through the motions. It's valid to feel that way. I wouldn't say that you don't feel, but it's valid to feel that way. But I always say for emotions, you welcome them, you feel them, you process them, then you let them go.
You let them go. Yeah, and I'm relating to what you said, that you're sharing your experience of Amari, not Amari's story, because you're not deaf.
I am not deaf.
Yeah, so you can't really own Amari's story. It's Amari to give his story when his time is right.
Yeah.
And one day we'll have Amari here.
Oh, he would love it. He loves social media.
And he'll share his story, what he does. He likes drawing and all that. And he likes giving very many stories as well, So, so when a child gets the cochlea, it enables them to access spoken language.
Yes,
so to hear. So Amari actually speaks like a hearing person. That's mysterious or very intriguing when people meet a deaf person who speaks.
Why
did you choose spoken language for Amari?
Well, that's a loaded question.
Tell us, because and I think it would be important to unpack the realities of using a cochlea. And the journey of learning for a deaf person. It's not their native language. It's not their natural language to speak.
No, it's not.
So did Amari speak after the cochlea? Did he speak, by the way? Just unpack for us.
So once we got the cochlea implant, once you get it, it's like a newborn. So he's at 0 in terms of language. Remember, the brain has never heard of sound before, so it's something quite new. So and he's still a child. So it takes quite some time to learn. And the way we did that was through a lot of therapy. We used a therapy module or mode called auditory verbal. And that's where you teach your child how to listen first, because they don't know.
Deaf children don't know how to listen.
They don't know how to listen. And I don't mean that you teach them when you drop something to turn. They will, that's physiological. You turn instinctively. It doesn't need to be taught. But I mean, for this conversation to happen, you have to listen to what I'm saying, process, and then respond. That's how you connect. That's how you have conversations. So that's a learned skill for deaf children, and it's also taxing to them, because you said it's not a natural process. Because their natural process of language is sign language. So now in hindsight, what I'll have done all this time when we are doing the fundraising, I'll have learned sign language, and we have a language of communication, so that when I do get the cochlea implant, I'm only augmenting the sign language, or I'm just supporting. Because now when I'm doing it the other way around, but you see, we lost a lot of time, and that means he's delayed in language and communication milestones. I think maybe for life, maybe he'll catch up, but even to this day, and he's 11, he's still delayed in his language. Because we got it late 4. By the time now we got the surgery, he was already 4, and that's quite close to the 5 years, which is
the brain plasticity.
So with therapy, we came back to the country. I said the foundation, it's in America. We went to America, got the surgery, came back to the country. We used to have therapies 3 times a week. And this is where you sit and you talk. So it's basically talking to your child in a meaningful way. So it's not just talking blab, like you're rapping. So it's making connections, like you're saying, look, let's look at photos on my phone. Give me the glass of water. The glass is there. He can see it, so that he learns that the words or to him it's jargon. The jargon leaving your mouth is meaningful and is connected to actual things in his reality. So that's what AVT is in very many words. So we did a lot of that. And for years, up to this day, we still do it. The way we talk and we read a lot of books, it's still part of auditory verbal therapy. Sorry, what your question was again was?
I forgot. I think
it was a loaded question.
It was, why did you choose spoken language?
Oh, yes.
And then
why did I choose a cochlear implant?
Yeah, and then the place of saying you need like 2-3 years for him, or how long did it take for Amari to speak one word, so that parents can understand. Not cochlear fixing next day he speaks. That journey.
That was quite a challenge for Mrs. Fix-It, because
Mrs. Fix-It.
Mrs. Fix-It is
actually, Miss, you have already fixed everything. If the surgery is done and the cochlea is on,
I've done everything. And then here I'm being told it will take some time, but nothing could prepare me for the actual experience of how long it took. For him to say one word, it took a year.
One whole year. 365 days.
365
for him to say yes or no.
To say mom. I don't even remember when he called me mom, but it took a whole year.
And you are still going for therapy 3 times in a week.
3 times in a week.
What kind of patience is that?
From God.
Because it looks like there's nothing.
Not working.
Like there's no fruit.
Yes.
And you still went 3 times in a week.
Yes.
12 months.
Yes.
And then he says one word.
One word. That's
Did
when
you think
words started. That's when you could hear coherent words in his babble. This whole year, he's just mumbling stuff, babbling stuff, like incoherent. You cannot understand what it is. But it was in the right rhythm. So if he wants to say, give me water, he'll say, water. You will hear. Yeah, but a coherent word you can understand. The pronunciation, it took a year.
It took a year.
With 3 therapy sessions a week and a lot of work from home.
So this is not for the faint-hearted.
No, it's not.
AVT, auditory verbal therapy, is taxing.
It is.
For the parent and also for the child.
Yeah.
I would imagine even now his school hours are to be affected if he has to go to therapy for
and you're paying
times.
School fees and he still has to go 3 times. He's missing 3 times a week.
And you have to pay for the therapy as well.
Yeah.
Wow. I know that for AVT, auditory verbal therapy, you also have, so the therapy session is just 1 hour with a therapist.
Yes.
Then the rest of the 2 days or before the next, it's you teaching or working with him.
At home.
So you have a full-time job as a wife, as a mother, as an employee, and as an AVT parent coach. So you had 4 jobs.
I had 4 jobs.
And you're still Mrs. Fix-It.
And I'm still
I wonder where your emotions are now.
I lost a lot of weight. I was really skinny by the time I was done. So we used to do, we had to do a lot of that. Like you work a lot. The work of the therapist, of the auditory verbal therapist, is not to work with your child. That's not where the gains will come from. The gains come from the remaining 23 hours in a day. That's where the gains of AVT are. So it can be really taxing. But the reason now I started doing by sign language was because it's the language, because of deaf culture. I wanted him to be immersed in deaf culture. I didn't want him to look at deaf people and think of those as those people were there, and me, I'm not a part of them, because he really is a deaf person. He's still a deaf person.
He still is with a cochlear.
Yes, he's
what
still
do you mean?
Because when
he can access sound.
When he takes it off, he's deaf.
He's still deaf.
He's still deaf.
So a cochlear implant or hearing aid doesn't remove the status of hearing loss.
No.
It just gives you sound.
It just gives you sound.
So deaf people who use spoken, let me not call them deaf people. A child who uses a gadget to access sound and uses spoken language is still deaf.
I dare say yes.
Because I think sometimes there are misconceptions by people who use sign language fully. They presume that a person who wears a gadget is not deaf.
They are deaf.
They are still deaf.
They are still deaf.
Yeah.
When he sleeps, he takes it off. He doesn't hear. It's only access to sound. It's a charged device. So if Kenya Power does the thing and we don't have disposable batteries, he's deaf. We resort to sign language. So that's why I wanted to have both, because he's still a deaf person, and for the deaf culture, and it was important to me that he's immersed in deaf culture. And also, and the reason I chose a cochlear implant is because hearing people are not joining deaf culture anytime soon, by what we have seen, by what we know so far. By the reality on the ground is a lot of hearing people don't care to be inclusive. They're not meeting us halfway to learn a bit of sign language, even basic. The one we say in Kikuyu for borrowing water, they are not. So the reason I chose a cochlear implant is to meet to. It's not half, it's to meet the deaf, the hearing people where they are at, because they're not moving. That's the reality. And I chose sign language, making him bilingual, because he's a deaf child and he needs to be immersed into deaf culture.
So, wow. So that he can access both worlds. Amari is blessed to be able to include himself into the bigger world. So it's the device that allows him to belong to the bigger world, whether we like it or not. It's the hearing world. And then he can choose also as well to be in the other world of the minority people with hearing loss or deaf people. So he has access to both. But he remains a deaf person.
His identity is a deaf person. I said, I cannot speak for him except there. I think I can speak for him and say his identity is a deaf person. He can correct it when he's older, when he's here on this seat. But for now, I think I'd rather he's in deaf culture, and if he chooses to leave, then that's his own decision.
I think it's a bold decision. There's a movie I saw of either South African or Japanese, I don't remember, or American. So these parents chose a cochlear implant. I think you're the one who shared with me. And then later when she was older, she did not like the decision the parents made. So she learned sign language when she was an adult. And then she disassociated with her parents because she felt her parents made a decision based on their need for her to access them, not them coming to where she was. It was a very heartbreaking. And then from there on, she said she doesn't want to wear the gadget. She chose sign language. And she chose her own world. So I think it's...
as a parent, you have to be prepared for that. Remember, I made this decision with the information I had and the circumstances that I was in. It was the best decision at this time. You have to be ready for your child to come back and tell you, I don't think this was right for me. I should have done X. And that's okay. And so for me, I've made this decision with the information that I have now, and I feel it's the best decision at this point. Should information change, then I am ready to adapt with him, and he's always in the driver's seat, but he's not going to make the decision when he's 5 or I need to be able, I'm the one to make the decisions at this age, but later in life he has my full support on whichever culture he wants to.
Okay. So, Amari, I got to meet Amari in church, and then now when he came to Lugha Ishara for sign language, what has your experience been at Lugha Ishara for the last, is it 5 now or 6 years? What has Lugha Ishara been for you and Amari?
Community. For me, it has been a place, or parents, other parents who are walking a journey with me. I have bona fide aunties who, because we were never meant to do this parenting thing in concrete boxes in the sky by yourselves. I think community is really important, and I have that in Lugha Ishara. I have a ready-made inclusive space. You remember the brief I used to give? I don't have to come to Lugha Ishara and give it. He's understood by default, whereas in other spaces I have to seek understanding. But in Lugha Ishara, he's welcome, and I have made friends who are now like family. He has a best friend. The other day I asked him to name his friends, and I was not top 3. So we'll have a discussion.
Was I in the list?
Yeah, in the list. Teacher Nancy. And then I came after. So
Mari is a very good friend of mine.
Yeah, a really good
We'll
friend.
Definitely have him here.
Yeah, he'll love it here. So I think for me, having community is very important. Okay. Because what will I say? My mother recently passed, and it's the way the community came through, and of course she was in a country setting, which is different. So for me, in an urban setting, to be able to build community is such a blessing for me. And that's what I get in Lugha Ishara. I have people who are walking the journey with me, and we are. We have a common goal. Okay, awesome. What do you think has been the greatest thing for Amari, in your view, since he joined Lugha Ishara? I think finding friends, making friends, unconditional acceptance. It doesn't have to be anything to be accepted. And what did I want to say? I think for me, and just having now, of course, access to deaf people and the deaf culture and immersing himself in that culture. Or I said, and he's not othered, because there's a lot of othering in other spaces. He's the center. It's a space for deaf children.
Yeah.
And so he's a deaf child, and it's like his home. Up on him, he's the center. When he's in Lugha Ishara, he's the center, and not the marginalized person.
And I think he's also really do I use the word grown, like his skills and also I don't want to call it teamwork. Teamwork is corporate, like playing and learning with others as well. I think he's a really bold child who knows what he wants and he doesn't want, so, and also leadership,
and he gets to be himself in a place that is already accepting, like he's not fighting for acceptance and inclusion. For me, that's really important. And to meet different people, like when he came here and different experiences, I think that those broadened his mind.
Okay. Catherine Wanjiku Wachira, our debut storyteller. Is it storytelling? Our first parent, mother to Amari, who is 11 years old. Amari is a really good friend of mine. He calls me.
He just called you before this.
He called and we spoke. I think recently, either 2 weeks ago, he called me for almost 1 hour, 30 minutes.
He demanded that.
Yeah, he likes to talk and I like to talk. So we have very interesting conversations. So what, as we close, do you have any final reflections to a new mother or parents who are not in a community? What would you tell them as your parting shot?
Don't do it alone. If you do, you will burn out, and it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. So don't do it alone. Find your people, find your community, and sometimes find a family of a new family. I'm not saying you disown your current one. I'm just saying find people who relate to what you're going through. A place where you can truly and honestly be vulnerable without the fear of judgment. People with whom you have a common goal that you're working to. You're trying to solve the same problem, so that you feel always at home in that way, that you can come and complain about broken systems and nobody is looking at you with way. They're just saying, yes, they're angry with you when they need to be angry, and they celebrate with you small milestones, like when Amari called me mom, or when he learned to answer to his name. I doubt a parent who's not gone through can relate to that. So find your people, and most importantly, don't do it alone. Community is important.
And one last bit. I've just realized, actually, it's been 7 years of you fighting for Amari, because the first 4 were figuring things out. Then when he got implanted, now it's the journey of
inclusion,
AVT, and included Amari. Amari can access sound. So what's next for you? What's next for you as a parent, as a mother?
What I need is a system that works. So to the government and anybody, stakeholders, and to anybody involved, we need a system that works. We need, we have all these organizations that speak to parents about accepting your child, early intervention, all these things. Parents are doing all these things, but it's getting to a point where the systems are disappointing us. Where is the flexible school curriculum? Where is the support for parents? Where are the deaf schools themselves? Because they are few, they are here, how do you say? Few and far between, So the schools are few. Junior secondary schools for deaf children are even worse. So we need the systems to work for us. Just now, as we were doing this interview, we were talking about admission into universities after you finish Form 4. It's difficult because you're only bound to the school, to the courses that current technical school for the deaf can offer, or we don't have inclusion at university level. So we've accepted the children, we've loved them, we've done early intervention, we've intervened, we've given them the language they need, but now the systems need to come up and support us.
Thank you, Kate, for that. I remember in another conversation, there was this lady who took the child through, had a cochlea, took them through the British curriculum, then they completed, and then they went for an admission to a regular university. I don't know whether it was a university or a technical college.
It was a technical
They
college.
were told, we can't admit you.
Yes.
Because your certificate is not what we don't recognize it.
Yeah.
Whereas the mother was working against, was trying to find a way, because the system doesn't have a space for children wearing cochlear implants or use spoken and sign language at the same time.
Yeah.
So such a disservice to the work and the effort the mother had put for 18 years. So I really agree with you.
Yeah.
I really agree with you. And that's why we are creating this stories, we are sharing about our experiences, so that we know that, I want to say you guys, so that the community can know that Kate is here, Amari is real. Kate has been on a journey. She's doing her best. Lugha Ishara is working alongside her in doing this.
Yeah.
So then when we go to junior high or junior secondary, then we want the support so that Amari can get better.
Yeah.
The system shouldn't take him backwards.
Exactly.
It should support us in providing the opportunities or the facilities that are needed. Yeah. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
It's
been a pleasure. I've really enjoyed our conversations. I always do enjoy our conversations. I want to say Nancy, I want to call you Teacher Nancy because I'm so used to calling you that because of Amari. So Nancy has really been a good friend and a bona fide auntie to Amari, and I really cannot thank you enough for the profound love and honestly how you mother our children, even when you haven't birthed them. You choose them every day when you don't have to. And I don't know if you understand how profound a statement that is, because as we have to love our children, the government is on our backs if we don't. But you choose every day to love these children, to fight this fight with us when you could walk away and find a corporate job and cozy and make you rich, but you choose to fight and push for inclusion with us. So for that we thank you, and we want to give you your flowers when you're still here. Yay! Thank you.
I thank you, Kate, for the warm words. And one of the best quotes is by Miles Monroe. He says, "We are mango trees." I know you struggle with that. But it liberates me because, let me see what the quote says. The quote says, "A mango tree doesn't have a mouth to eat its own mangoes." Anyone seen a mango tree? No. It's even ridiculous to see a mango tree eating with a mouth first, then it eats its own mangoes. So the mango tree is for others. They come eat the mangoes. Then the birds come perch on the tree. Someone who is tired sits under for the shade, what have you. And then the mango tree is fed through sun, soil, oxygen. Is it carbon dioxide? Wind, rain, and all that. So that's who I am. I'm a mango tree. So
under the mango
you
tree.
Eat your mangoes, then me, I'm eating my oxygen and carbon dioxide and all that. So what I produce is not for me, and I think that's what it is for all of us. It's not just for me, because purpose is beyond us. It's beyond the air. So I also honestly sometimes don't fully understand. I just know.
But you do it anyway.
I do it anyway, and I enjoy it. I enjoy having conversations, children, playing with them, whatever it is, drama, everything mixed up. It fulfills me. And I think when you know your purpose and you live it, I feel like you experience God himself. And in a way you can't describe. So sometimes, I don't know how to describe it, but I know the feeling. And that's what I pray for Amari and all other children, that they'll also find their purpose and they will live it. And I can't wait to... By the way, Amari has a 20-year plan. We'll probably share later.
I'll come and share it.
I can't wait for Amari to be... When he's 11 now, 20, he'll be 31. Will probably be shoshos, so...
But
cool ones. So I can't wait to see who he will become, and so that's my joy. And thank you for being vulnerable, for accepting to come to do the first podcast, and showing yourself for who you are. And I believe that other parents will be encouraged And by the way, I wanted to say tuma pesa. Anyway, I'm joking.
But if you want to.
So I work at Lugha Ishara. I lead the team. And if you're a parent, please get in touch with us.
Yeah.
We have a website, a number, an email. The number is also on WhatsApp. Contact us if you just need community. We are always happy. Our offices, our doors are open for you. Don't do it alone, as Keta said. We are here with you. We want to walk alongside you. We do our part, then you also do your part. Yeah. We work together. It's not a Lugha Ishara thing alone, but it's collaboration. Yeah. Thank you. Our guest today has been Catherine Wanjiku Wachira, or Mama Amari, a friend to Lugha Ishara. And our sign language interpreter has been Laura Omondi. And I have been your host, Nancy Nyambura Wagimaina. See you next time.